Welcome to Searching the Scriptures. Our Bible teacher will be Gunther von Harringa Sr. In this series of studies, we will be focusing on the book of Judges. So without further ado, let's look into God's Word, the Bible.
Good evening and welcome to Searching the Scriptures. This is going to be Judges 4, Part 17, and today's date is June 16th, 2017. I'll go ahead and read verses 15 and 16 of Judges chapter 4. And Jehovah discomfited Sisera and all his chariots and all his host with the edge of the sword before Barak, so that Sisera lighted down off his chariot and fled away on his feet. But Barak pursued after the chariots and after the host, unto Harosheth of the Gentiles, and all the host of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. We're down to verses 15 and 16 of Judges 4, and God gives us a general overview of this battle between Sisera, typifying Satan and his army, and Barak, who represents the Lord Jesus Christ and his forces, comprised of men from the tribes of Zebulun and Naphtali. Starting with verse 17 to the end of the chapter, the focus will be on two people, Sisera and Jael, who is Heber's wife. But for now, let us concentrate on the verses at hand, beginning with the first phrase, and Jehovah discomfited Sisera in all his chariots. Since we've already considered the term for all his chariots, I won't belabor the point. However, the other two words, and Jehovah and discomfited, only appear here in Judges 4 and in 4 other chapters. In each of them, we see that judgment is in view. The first entry is found in verse 24 of Exodus 14, 21 to 31. And here God employs these terms as Jehovah and troubled. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Jehovah caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued, and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch Jehovah looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, that they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for Jehovah fighteth for them against the Egyptians. And Jehovah said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength, when the morning appeared. And the Egyptians fled against it, and Jehovah overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus Jehovah saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw that great work which Jehovah did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared Jehovah and believed Jehovah and his servant Moses. Verse 15 of Deuteronomy 2:13 through 16 translates these two words as of Jehovah, and was against them to destroy them. Now rise up, said I, and Moses is speaking under divine inspiration, and get you over the brook Zered. And we went over the brook Zered, and the space in which we came from Kadesh Barnea until we were come over the brook Zered was 38 years, until all the generation of the men of war were wasted out from among the host, as Jehovah sware unto them. For indeed the hand of Jehovah was against them to destroy them from among the host, until they were consumed. So it came to pass, when all the men of war were consumed and dead from among the people. Incidentally, Jehovah is 3068, and this word for or to destroy is number 2000, or discomfited. Now, we can also go to verse 10 of Joshua 10:6 through 14. And both of these words are expressed as, again, and Jehovah and discomfited. And the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp to Gilgal, saying, Slack not thy hand from thy servants. Come up to us quickly, and save us and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And Jehovah said unto Joshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly, and went up from Gilgal all night. And Jehovah discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Beth Horon, and smote them to Azekah, and then to Makkedah. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel, and were in the going down to Beth Horon, that Jehovah cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Azekah, and they died. They were more which died with hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. Then spake Joshua to Jehovah in the day when Jehovah delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. Excuse me. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ahialon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. And there was no day like that before it, or after it, that Jehovah hearkened unto the voice of a man, for Jehovah fought for Israel. The last reference is found in verse 10 of 1 Samuel 7, 1 through 15, in which these two words appear again as, but Jehovah and discomfited them. And the men of and the men of Kirjath Jearim came and fetched up the ark of Jehovah, and brought it into the house of Abinadab in the hill, and sanctified Eleazar his son to keep the ark of Jehovah. Excuse me, I'm going to get some water. And it came to pass, while the ark abode in Kirjath Jearim, that the time was long, for it was 20 years, and all the house of Israel lamented after Jehovah. And Samuel spoke unto all the house of Israel, saying, if ye do return unto Jehovah with all your hearts, then put away the strange gods and Ashtaroth from among you, and prepare your hearts unto Jehovah, and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines. Then the children of Israel did put away Baalim and Ashtaroth, and served Jehovah only. And Samuel said, gather all Israel to Mizpah, and I will pray for you unto Jehovah. And they gathered together to Mizpah, and drew water, and poured it out before Jehovah, and fasted on that day, and said there, we have sinned against Jehovah. And Samuel judged the children of Israel in Mizpah. And when the Philistines heard that the children of Israel were gathered together in Mizpah, the lords of the Philistines went up against Israel. And when the children of Israel heard it, they were afraid of the Philistines. And the children of Israel said to Samuel, cease not to cry unto Jehovah our God for us, that he will save us out of the hand of the Philistines. And Samuel took a sucking lamb and offered it for a burnt offering, holy unto Jehovah. And Samuel cried unto Jehovah for Israel, and Jehovah heard him. And as Samuel was offering up the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to battle against Israel. But Jehovah thundered with a great thunder on that day upon the Philistines, and discomfited them, and they were smitten before Israel. And the men of Israel went out of Mizpah, and pursued the Philistines, and smote them, and they came under Bethkar. Then Samuel took a stone, and set it between Mizpah and Shen, and called the name of it Ebenezer, saying, hitherto hath Jehovah helped us. So the Philistines were subdued, and they came no more into the coast of Israel. And the hand of Jehovah was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel. And the cities which the Philistines had taken from Israel were restored to Israel, from Ekron even unto Gath. And the coasts thereof did Israel deliver out of the hands of the Philistines. And there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. And Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life. The next word that we want to investigate is one that we've encountered before and is translated in a variety of ways, but predominantly as camp, host, and company. And this is Strong's number 4264. And this is the word for host. Most recently, we ran across this word in our discussion in Judges 4, part 15, having to do with Heber in Judges 4:11, in which we learned that after separating from the Kenites, he pitched his tent unto the plain of Zaanaim. As we considered the verses that contain those two Hebrew expressions, pitched and tent, we discovered Exodus 33:7, in which the word tent or tabernacle was repeated 3 times in this one verse. And the word host or the camp was the last word found in this citation. So I'll go ahead and read Exodus 33:7. And Moses took the tabernacle and pitched it without or outside the camp, afar off from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of the congregation. And it came to pass that every one which sought Jehovah went out unto the tabernacle of the congregation, which was without or outside the camp. This word camp also surfaces twice in Exodus 14:20. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. And it was a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. In Deuteronomy 23:14, God lays down a law relating to the camp. And in other passages, we see when this law was violated, God brought judgment, as was the case with Achan or with Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, for example. For Jehovah thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp to deliver thee, and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, that he see no unclean thing in thee, and turn away from thee. One of the chapters where this term is used extensively is in the historical parable found in Judges 7 concerning Gideon, which, if the Lord allows us to, we will one day be able to examine in some detail. I'll read verses 1, 8 through 11, 13 through 15, 17 through 19, and 21 through 22. Then Jerubbaal, who was Gideon, and all the people that were with him rose up early and pitched beside the well of Harod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them by the hill of Moreh in the valley. Verse 8, so the people took victuals in their hand and their trumpets, and he sent all the rest of Israel, every man unto his tent, and retained those 300 men, and the host of Midian was beneath him in the valley. Verse 9, and it came to pass the same night that Jehovah said unto him, arise, get thee down unto the host, for I have delivered it into thine hand. But if thou fear to go down, go thou with Phurah, thy servant, down to the host. Verse 11, and thou shalt hear what they say, and afterward shalt thine hands be strengthened to go down unto the host. Then went he down with Phurah his servant unto the outside of the armed men that were in the host. Verse 13, and when Gideon was come, behold, there was a man that told a dream unto his fellow, and said, behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, and came unto a tent, and smote it that it fell, and overturned it, that the tent lay along. And his fellow answered and said, this is nothing else save the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. For into his hand hath God delivered Midian and all the host. And it was so when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation thereof, that he worshipped and returned into the host of Israel and said, Arise, for Jehovah hath delivered into your hand the host of Midian. And he said unto them, Look on me, and do likewise. And behold, when I come to the outside of the camp, it shall be that as I do, so shall ye do. When I blow with a trumpet, I and all that are with me, then blow ye the trumpets also on every side of all the camp, and say, The sword of Jehovah and of Gideon. So Gideon and the 100 men that were with him came unto the outside of the camp, in the beginning of the middle watch. And they had but newly set the watch, and they blew the trumpets, and brake the pitchers that were in their hands. And verse 21, and they stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran and cried and fled. Verse 22, and the 300 blew the trumpets, and Jehovah set every man's sword against his fellow, even throughout all the host. And the host fled from Bethshittah in Zererath, and to the border of Abel Meholah unto Tabbath. In 1 Chronicles 12:22, we find a curious statement in which both the words day as well as host are repeated. For at that time, day by day, there came to David to help him, until it was a great host, like the host of God. Psalm 27:3 includes this expression as though an host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise up against me, in this will I be confident. Lastly, and speaking of our current day, Joel 2:11 renders this word as for his camp. And Jehovah shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of Jehovah is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? In the next phrase, we notice the means which God used to discomfit, that is to destroy or trouble Sisera and his army, namely with the edge of the sword. The word with the edge is Strong's number 6310, and of the sword is 2719. You might recall seeing these two words together from our study in Judges 1, verse 8, and also in verse 25. Now the children of Judah had fought against Jerusalem and had taken it and smitten it with the edge of the sword and set the city on fire. Verse 25, and when he showed them the entrance into the city, they smote the city with the edge of the sword, but they let go the man and all his family. As we continue our investigation into the book of Judges, these two terms will also surface again in some of the later chapters, if God allows us to get there. Altogether, these two words are found 37 times in the Old Testament. They are also found, for example, in verse 20 of Isaiah 1, which is a chapter that deals with God's judgment on his formerly divine organism, the end-time institutional churches and denominations, typified here by Judah and Jerusalem. Excuse me. Excuse me. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem, In the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for Jehovah hath spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. Excuse me. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken Jehovah. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot unto the head there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire. Your land strangers devour it in your presence, and it is desolate, as overthrown by strangers. And the daughter of Zion is left, as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Except Jehovah of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. Hear the word of Jehovah, ye rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of our God, ye people of Gomorrah. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith Jehovah? I am full of the burnt offerings of rams and the fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks or of lambs or of he-goats. When ye come to appear before me, who hath required this at your hand to tread my courts? Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting. Your new moons and your appointed feasts, my soul hateth. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when ye spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when ye make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash you, make you clean, and put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil, learn to do well, seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. Come now, and let us reason together, saith Jehovah. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If ye be willing and obedient, ye shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, ye shall be devoured with the sword, for the mouth of Jehovah hath spoken it. Lord willing, in our next study, we will learn what happened next to Sisera in this intriguing historical parable as we examine the last phrase in Judges 4:15, so that Sisera lighted down off his chariot and fled away on his feet.
Thank you for joining us today for Searching the Scriptures. Until next time, to God be the glory.